You know, spiders, most of the time, like, you make me, like, vomit a little bit in my mouth. But, like, right now, I'm kind of turned on. Where'd you get that sweater?
Oh, the hoodie? First of all, that's mean. Second of all, these hoodies are back in stock at the Barstool store. Go get yourself one. Limited supplies. So you got to move quick. Who knows if they're ever coming back. They're back in stock now for who knows how long. Go, go, go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome on back. It's the Rubbin Racing podcast brought to you by NASCAR. The NASCAR Cup Series next race is the Advent Health 400. It's on Sunday. It's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch it on Fox Sports 1. It's at the 1.5 mile tri-oval of Kansas Speedway. We're climbing up on the Chicago Road Race that's coming up on July 2nd. We got a lot of shit in store for you on behalf of NASCAR this season. It's been a great season so far. I think we're about, they say, a third of the way through, something like that.
Something like that.
Yes, we're chugging along. Everything we do is brought to you by NASCAR. We appreciate them. Let's get into the podcast. All right, so it's rainy week out in Dover, rainy week on the East Coast in general. So we didn't get to the big race until Monday. Before we hit the race, we'll talk about a couple of headlines. One of the headlines that hit yesterday, we're taping on a Wednesday, is that Legacy Motor Club announced that the organization will switch its manufacturer alignment from Chevy to Toyota for the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season. That moves Toyota from 6 chartered cars on the grid to 8 next year, joining Joe Gibbs Racing. And another Joe Gibbs Racing with 4, and then another 2 with 2311. What do you think?
I'm split somewhere in the middle. I think it was necessary that we added more Toyotas to the field because I think just for numbers' sake and you know, to level the playing field, it made more sense to have another Toyota team. However, I don't know if this was the right team. I mean, I like the move. I think Legacy will be better after this. However, my concern is just for like old time's sake, I feel I see where the traditional fans are annoyed by this.
But is it just because of Jimmy Johnson in a Toyota? Is that because I don't think if anyone's like, oh, Noah Gragson in a Toyota.
I think it's this. I think it's the traditional, maybe I'm wrong, but my knowing how the sport is, I think that the traditional old-time fans will be like, holy shit, Richard Petty's 43 just became a Toyota. I don't like that. So part of me almost wants to question and raise the question, should the 43 car be retired? Do you think the team should say, hey, we're done racing it. We're going to leave it as a Chevy. We're going to appease those old fans and hopefully retain them, and they will be understanding, hey, we're going to try to get a little bit more competitive and go to Toyota. You might not like it now, but in the long term, this is going to be a good move. And we understand the tradition, the history behind the 43, the Richard Petty, the most iconic, the all-time winner. So,
you know what? If I was Toyota, I'd be like, no, fuck you guys. You're in it for a penny, you're in it for a pound. You're now a fucking Toyota, and we're going to pay you. Like, I could see Toyota doing that. Believe me, we've been hit with a lot of traditionalist rhetoric on Twitter and whatnot, so I definitely see it. But I just know, realistically, if you're Chevy and you have so many resources to give out to the people who race for you, and you have Hendrick, right? And you have RCR, and you have even Trackhouse and Kaulig, those 4 teams are all performing better than Legacy, which has been a disappointing season for everyone, including them. So if you're the Legacy guys and you want to get a better shine off of your manufacturer, then maybe just get in line behind Joe Gibbs Racing in a 2311. Be number 3 instead of number 5 on the depth list for the cars.
How much of this do you think that they knew? Like, do you think they were considering this when the Legacy team came into our office preseason?
100%.
So my question is, if that's the case, are they kind of like, not like mailing it in or like tanking, but are they kind of like being like, hey, we know we're going to be in a completely different fucking like model? I mean, as much as they're different, there's a lot of similarities, but I don't know. I feel like they might have a lot of different product next year, given the different car. What's your guys' take on that?
I think they just kind of sucked this year. I don't know if this is the thing that's going to fix it for them. I'm kind of a Legacy hater lately. Just that's what my opinions have been on them lately, is hating. But yeah, I don't know if this is the answer to fix whatever's going on with that.
I will say that I don't know if what your conspiracy theory is true, but I will definitely tell you, you're not going to be the only one who says it.
Also,
right? So it doesn't.
I don't mean to jump the headline thing, but another guy we heard this past week that Josh Berry was going to be announced to a prominent full-time Cup ride next year. He also, following that announcement, signed with Kevin Harvick's sports management agency. Now, I'm not saying he's definitely going to the 4. He obviously, Kevin Harvick, I think he represents drivers from all manufacturers. But there is some smoke in Josh Berry to the 4. Combine Chevy, the tough week for Chevy, or is it not, is my question. You're losing legacy. You're losing Noah Gragson, who's been a Chevy prospect for a while now. Eric Jones, who you stole from JGR and the Toyotas, is now going back to Toyota. And then Josh Berry, you're losing from the Chevy program as well, as he goes to potentially Ford and the 4 car. Obviously, potentially. But what would your take be? Is that a loss for Chevy, or there's a lot of rides to go around.
But with Chevy, like, his shoe-in for Chevy would be with Hendrick, and
they're full.
There's
no room at the inn, I think.
Josh Berry's great, but, like, all the drivers they have are better. And they're better than anyone that you could replace them with for the most part.
So I think maybe instead of, and this is to Quiggs' point, instead of thinking of whether it's a bad week for Chevy shrugs this off. But I think this is, monumental news for Legacy.
Oh, right? I think so too.
Yeah.
I also think it's important to note that from what I read, Richard Petty gave them his full endorsement. So all these people online saying like, bring back the king, or the king's tapped out on the decision making, that doesn't necessarily seem true. From what I read, it seems like he gave them their blessing to become a more competitive team in whatever that looked like, which they decided was going to Toyota. So I kind of love the move from Richard Petty himself to be like, you know what, fuck the tradition thing. If we're going to win, I'd rather be up front. So
weird rest of season for them. And if this has happened before historically, I don't have the perspective. But right, weird rest of season. Maybe start blaming the Camaro on on all their losses. I can't wait to get in the Yoda. This thing sucks. Perhaps, but I don't know. But so that's happening definitively in 2024.
Do you think the drivers, obviously Noah and Eric have to be supportive of the decision. But at heart, do you think they're like, fuck, now I got to drive a Toyota? Like, Noah's been a Chevy guy for what, as far as I can remember, as long as I've known about him.
Beginning of the season, probably more, but the way that they'd announced it on a weekend where Toyotas did very well, looks like Toyotas are getting better in this Cup season. So I don't think it's as big of a disappointment as it was. Remember when there was just Chevy for the first 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Like, we heard nothing but. So I think the tide has turned a little bit. And like I said, this is financially beneficial to Legacy.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. So everything else is fucking noise. And if the drivers have a problem with it, just lump it. We're making more money.
Yeah.
So, that's the way it is. Everyone had sent in this, I'm sure, to everybody. Wayne Huffman had hit me with it. It came out right after we had taped last week's show about Denny wanting the tournament. Are you guys cool with that? Like, Denny Hamlin is saying that a mid-season single elimination 32-driver tournament that spans the 5 weeks during the summer. And the way that Denny did this, I'm assuming on his new podcast, well, no, definitely on the new podcast. What's
Actions Detrimental.
Actions Detrimental. So he goes through the whole thing. Yeah,
cut that part out.
We're big time supporters of everybody, I guess. But so he thinks that there's wood to chop, particularly in the summer, where only one of the big 4 is actually being watched, and that's baseball. So why not try to grab some eyes by doing a 32-driver tournament in those 5 races and giving out like a cash prize at the end? I think that, the money bandied about was maybe like $3 million, which is a lot of scratch for any driver, even the top tier. It would send, speaking from as a company perspective, our sports book would go crazy on it. And I think we'd be one of the first to market on it because we tend to do that in NASCAR, particularly this season. So, but again, the purists are like, what are you doing? Why are we having more gimmicks and whatnot? But like, I could see both sides here. I think that would be kind of cool. It would change the complexion of how people run those races. Like, if you want that $3 million, maybe P1 isn't as important as making sure that you beat Briscoe, because you're head-to-head with Briscoe. Is that something I think everybody here would probably embrace, or is it fucking cheesy?
I would embrace it, but I would also be a little bit skeptical. I think it would have to be very easy, simple format to follow. And also, I think I'm a fan of all these initiatives. You look at Dash for the Cash and the other stuff that NASCAR does, or the bounty systems that owners or people have put in place for Cup drivers to run in a truck race and beat someone or whatever it may be. So yeah, I think, and also it does not surprise me one bit that Denny Hamlin, who has his own like intramural basketball tournament league, is the one campaigning for a mid-season NASCAR tournament. So yeah, I think it would be good. I just think they have to do it the right way. I also am a little skeptical that it might turn into a wreck fest, given like if you get one of those guys that advances almost like Cinderella, long shot, making it pretty far, and you're telling that shit team or that like back runner that they have a shot to win $3 million. At some point, I feel like the integrity of the bigger picture might be at stake, just given that people will be desperate to pull some crazy moves. I don't know. You guys,
are you willing
love
to
it.
risk that? Like, and
Yo,
I knew
I am.
this guy was going to love it. Right. First of all, I know, and there are some people who are tweeting NASCAR is 2 or 3 gimmicks away from becoming Monster Jam. Like that's what they're saying about it. But even if it is a wreck fest during those summer months, right? Like this thing runs from Valentine's Day to fucking Thanksgiving, right? That's the NASCAR season. So during those summer months, wreck fests are very, very photogenic, right? I mean, it's. I knew. Why do you love it?
I mean, just the idea. One, NASCAR season's long.
yeah.
I can have 5 races be something different in the middle of the season. The idea of the end of a race being 16 different battles for the lead, basically, is very exciting. I like the idea of a Cinderella guy, which would be very doable if you're up against like somebody has car troubles. You can advance, and before you know it, you're in the final 4 just by even if you're finishing 16th, 17th, like you can make it that far. And like from the betting standpoint of, it'd be great. Like that, I would assume our sportsbook would put every head-to-head matchup of the actual
That would be
Easily.
head-to-head matchups, and it'd be so much fun to watch.
I think, yeah, anything that would drive engagement like that, like give people incentive to watch, whether it be for an individual head-to-head matchup or like the storyline itself, I think would be a massive win. So yeah, but I just think they need to do it the right way.
I think it's an easy do. Like they
Yeah?
had these math guys, spreadsheet guys on social media crunching the numbers if this was in effect last season, and they were like showing what the head-to-head matchups were. And then they had the empirical evidence of how everyone did with their head-to-head matchup. And like Stenhouse wound up coming out of nowhere and beating a 1 seed or something like that. And, that 1 seed now is not knocked out. They still have a vested interest in winning the next race, right? Just like everyone has a vested interest. So outside of the gimmicky thing, outside of the traditional breaking away from tradition, I don't see why it's pretty brilliant. Not earth-shattering, right, because it's been brought up before in many different things, but for Denny to say, I speak to a lot of drivers. I know a lot of drivers. They're all on board with this. Or maybe he's lying. I don't know. I think it would be exciting. All right, this weekend. So Truex brothers ruled the weekend. Martin Truex's younger brother, Ryan, won the Xfinity race, right? And that was his first career win. Right, I'm very, very happy for the guy. Great flow on that dude.
Great hair.
Holy cow. Yeah, fucking majestic. Ryan has had a 14-year NASCAR career so far, but just 3 full-time seasons, 2 in the Craftsman Truck Series and 1 in Xfinity. Then our guy, 2017 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Martin Truex, wins in Monday's rain-delayed Worth 400 NASCAR Cup Series. Ended a 54 winless streak. So I'm wearing the Truex shirt today. I did not bet on him. I made a promise to the gentleman that I wouldn't bet on him, because I bet on him every week last year, and he had a season without a win. That's a monkey off this guy's back. I know I've incorrectly said that people have been on the hot seat and whatnot, but you can tell that he was extremely relieved. He did it on what he considers his home track. I didn't realize from where he was born and where he grew up in New Jersey to Dover is only 75 miles. Mayetta, New Jersey is only 75 miles northeast of Dover. His dad was there. It was a great family moment for the Truex family. It's his 32nd career win outside of the Clash, and it's his first since Richmond on September 11th, 2021. So it's been a while.
It's like 56, 54 races.
54 races.
Yeah.
And then he gets I know it's not a huge deal. Probably is a huge deal, but the way that they keep announcing them they announce him so fast, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But he was announced as one of the 75 best drivers of all time by NASCAR, which they're putting together. So it's just a great weekend for the Truex family. But the brother never won until Saturday. Did Martin steal his fucking thunder in front of the dad?
I don't think so. I think the thunder saved his thunder, if that makes sense, because the storm separated the races so far that I felt like Ryan won. They celebrated. He got his time. He got his shine. And then Martin won on Monday. And then now the storyline is progressing where both we're celebrating both them collectively. So I don't think anyone's thunder was stolen.
I think it increased it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, because Xfinity winner
that's good
can just go in the wind when it's like a weekend where two brothers won both races.
I also think
it's a bigger story.
Do the big dinner at Chili's on Sunday night in the rain and then celebrate again on Tuesday back in Mayetta. No, that's true. And you're right. People would have kind of glanced over it unless it had that complimentary story. So, I mean, drinks all around for the Truex family. Monday Martin, 3 of Truex's 4 Dover wins have come on Mondays.
That's unbelievable. It also felt like
wild.
He's got 4 wins, 3 of them on a fucking Monday. And because, like, Dover obviously gets run in April. April showers bring May flowers. You know, if you're going to run stuff in the Northeast, it makes sense that thing must get a lot of rain.
Yeah.
A lot of rain. That's a great stat. People jumped on it, and that's why you bet him.
Yeah.
You won money on Truex, right?
Yep.
Was it because of the Monday?
No, I locked it in on Friday.
Really?
I just liked him.
By the way, this asshole had said, "Oh, but I have our stats for the week or for the season."
We're cutting that. I'm not allowing
I
that
don't
in.
need to hear that shit.
No, we
Bleep out the whole segment.
Yeah. The race itself, as has been the case past couple of weeks, it seemed to be one in the pits again. 2 tires.
2 tires.
2 right side tires.
2 tires. That's how you win races.
Yeah. So Chastain was running second. We'll talk about Chastain in a second. He took 4 fresh tires.
Yep.
But Truex came out. He came off the pits real quick with 2 tires, and then he got a little bit of help with people setting picks behind him because Ross Chastain now wears the black hat in NASCAR.
Yeah.
People hate him. You know what I mean? We spoke about Josh Berry. He was in this time for 48 for Bowman. Gets another top 10 finish. Congratulations to him. JGR gets the win, and then 5th and 6th with Denny and Chris Bell.
Yep.
You know, also Toyotas, so it was great for them. So after 11 weeks of racing in NASCAR, we have 8 different winners. I think that's probably around average. 2 seasons ago, we had 11 different winners, but a couple of dupes seems to make the most sense. And we still have a couple of guys who are on the Schneid who are not on the hot seat just yet. We'll maybe talk about them in a second. But Ross Chastain knocked out pre-race favorite. And by the way, Kyle Larson was in a rocket ship. It looked like it was going to be one of those rocket ships, like when he took Logano a couple of weeks ago, and Logano's like, I couldn't fucking touch him. Larson looked like he was in a rocket ship, and Chastain nudged a lapper, Brendan Poole, into a spin, then Poole's number 15 Ford skid into the path of Larson, and then essentially not ended Larson's day, but caused enough damage that it took him from being a rocket ship to not being in a rocket ship. Poole said that Chastain needs to get his butt whooped. Larson asked on the radio, Ross flat out wrecked the lapper, right? And then the guy said yes for no reason. Bowman from his couch tweeted, number 5 was a rocket, but 1 is doing 1 things. Gosh, I'm sure he didn't mean to. You know, it's like one of those memes, like, what, me? People are calling him Osama bin Laden. It's one of those things. How do we feel about Ross Chastain and the way Mike Joy, because of all the rain delays, they had to bring everybody out and do these retrospectives. So Mike Joy was with a bunch of old NASCAR legends saying how Dale Earnhardt Sr. loved to wear the black hat. And people loved him for it or hated him for it. Ross Chastain seems to have that right now almost exclusively. Like Kyle Busch doesn't mind being hated.
Yeah.
And people are clapping for him. Ross Chastain, what do you think is going to happen to Ross? Do you think he's going to change his way, or does somebody need to run him into a fucking wall?
I don't think he'll change his way in the sense of his driving style. I do think he should change his way in the sense of how he goes about handling himself post-wreck. I think he should take a page from Kyle Busch's book and kind of lean into the villain role. I think there's very much an angle for that to work, especially if you're going to be wrecking guys, and I think that could only increase his likability. But to me, he's kind of somewhere riding the fence almost. Like he'll wreck someone and then he'll run in the wall. Yeah, good one.
Thanks.
I don't know. I just would like. I feel like he'll defend himself after he wrecks someone in a pretty egregious fashion, where it's just like, I don't know, own it. Just admit that I
Bullshit
know. But
apologies.
then again, bullshit apologies. But then again, in his defense, you own it. You get fined, as Denny did on actions detrimental. So I mean, I can't be too hard on him for that.
I mean, I think he's a lot of the things he's done have been early, middle of races. I think he's doing it late in the race, causing somebody a direct win away from something going down in the pits.
Yeah, I also think that this race should have been Larson and Truex running at the end, and instead it was Ross.
Did you see this was pre-caution, but the blocks Larson was putting on him, it was the most just deliberate.
Yeah,
I'm getting in front of you,
yeah.
and I don't care about my race anymore. I am
ruining your
slowing
day.
you down.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, it opened up almost a 2-second gap for him.
Gibbs did it too.
Larson did that, and then Ty Gibbs did it as well, which I was really proud of him.
Nobody likes him.
Nobody likes him.
Nobody.
And honestly,
likes
I think that Ty Gibbs got some respect from the fans and the drivers, given the fact that he set a moving chicane in front of Truex.
Suarez almost got in a fight with them 4 weeks ago.
Thank you for bringing that up as well.
Yeah.
So
Nobody likes him.
I think he's just kind of hard to like if you work with him.
Yeah.
That being said, watching third party, I could see why people like rooting for him. Some weeks I'm a fan.
No, I'm here just for
the chaos.
Popcorn on the couch.
Same.
Do whatever the fuck you want, Ross, but
just don't take my guys out. But that's what he did this week. So for now, Ross, you're in the doghouse.
Top 10 at Daytona, top 3 at Auto Club, top 4 at Coda, top 3 at Richmond, finishes second at Dover, top 15 at Martinsville. I think if people are going to retaliate against him, he's got such a fast car, they better do it correctly, right? Because he is in a rocket ship too. But getting onto a lapper like that, the more that I watch, just seemed 100% absolutely unnecessary, especially 80 laps into when it meant nothing. And, and this kid Poole, he was kind of racing against Austin Dillon. He seemed like he was doing okay. I mean, I know the guy will never be in contention necessarily, but it just seemed very unnecessary. I wonder when he's going to get his ass kicked. Or his butt whooped, as Poole had put so good. What do you think of this Miles the Monster trophy?
I love it.
Do you like it?
Yeah, NASCAR has a very weird collection of trophies. We got cowboy boots, grandfather clocks. We've got weird art sculptures, a.k.a. Miles. Monster Miles, rather.
Yeah.
I also love the fact that his position, his hand, they put the car winner, the die cast, they'll switch it out. So each year it's whoever won there last. I like that. It's a nice touch.
Right.
Miles, I'm a big fan of yours.
Are you? I think it kind of looks like Xfinity-ish.
What does that mean?
I just don't know. You see, the grandfather clock has got more of an older tradition. It seems to me. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of just having a mascot for stuff.
Right.
I just like
Mascots
to think of
rule.
the drivers' trophy cases and just how bizarre it must be to
Must
look
be
at.
awesome.
You got a guitar, there's different. You used to have guns.
Yeah, the clock goes off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. So Miles the Monster. All right. So just to put a button on this week's, or to put a bow, not a button on this week's action, go to you, Spider, for over under.
Yeah, a couple guys I was over-delivered, in my opinion. Ryan Blaney had a fucking hot rod. He looked like, I would say he looked like he had the second or third best car. I don't know if Larson was still around, how he would have settled, but he over-delivered, definitely. He had long odds. I think he was somewhere around 12-1 or higher on the Barstool Sportsbook this past week, and he ran second pretty much the entire race. It didn't look like he could have won. Well, I shouldn't say that. It didn't look like he ever had the fastest car, but he was very close and right there the whole time. I was also very impressed with all of the Toyotas. Ty Gibbs, as we mentioned before, I love the move of him just fucking with Ross.
I got a good stat.
Let's hear
We're
it.
a third into the season, like I said. Ty Gibbs is currently averaging a better finish. 17.3 is his average finish than the defending champion, Joey Logano. who's 17.7. And Joey has a win, obviously, already this season. We spoke about it. But Ty is, right now a better driver in the 23 Cup season than last year's winner. That's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Josh Berry, I thought he looked really well all day. And again, substitute duty in the 48 looked great. And, that's pretty much where I was at with overperformers.
Logano's got to be on there. Logano had a awful day.
Yeah.
I mean,
He had the guy who's running in 36th all day and just blowing tires in the back. He was just looked like he never raced before, which is you can have those days.
How about, maybe one I would say Kyle Busch. He finished, it seemed like he just kept getting caught up in crazy, amateur issues. I don't know.
Yeah. Chase,
Which Chase?
Elliott.
Okay.
At least comparatively to how he usually runs there. We were talking about, I took him top 5 because I think he was top 5 in 5 out of the last 6 he ran there or something. He just kind of wasn't there.
I think he had 9 top 5s in 12 races.
Yeah.
But so I guess by that metric, Chase disappointed as well. But I just said Josh Berry overperformed. I don't know. It's all relative. But I think I needed more from Chase, especially when I had him outright. It was disappointing to see Chase finish 11th, and then I don't want to say Kyle Larson because he had a fucking hot rod and he was running really good. But
just bad luck almost.
Bad luck.
Yeah.
So
but
I might have to run Larson back.
Can I throw Denny Hamlin's pit crew on there?
Yeah.
I think Denny Hamlin is obviously a very good driver and whatnot, but he loses so many positions every time he pits, and there's just something wrong. There's something wrong there.
Yeah.
And he says that he's worked with multiple pit crews. I don't know if he's necessarily calling them out by name, but it's apparent to even a newbie like me that something's wrong every time he enters into pit row. So I'm throwing his pit crew under the bus right now.
Every time they go to his radio, it sounds like they're just in a massive fight.
Yeah.
Like him and the pit crew. They're not clicking.
He still sneaks out a top 5 though, so I might add him into my overperformers because despite all that bullshit, he still gets a top 5, and he struggled to do that.
Yeah, no, I think Denny has some wins this year.
Yeah.
If he's got finally 2.
If they figured out.
Outperforming as a driver, underperforming in the pit.
Yep.
Okay, I'll take it. You see Truex and this guy go back and forth?
No.
Truex is so Truex is pit chief up in the duck blind. Said, just shut the fuck up and drive or something like that. They were going back and forth towards the end. He was like, all right. And then he's like, and just do your best, buddy. You're doing just fine. It was very passive aggressive. And apparently they go back and forth like that with each other all the time. It was kind of cool. If you guys bring that up, it's wonderful. We're about to talk to Toni Breidinger in a little bit, but we're going to go Twisted History real quick because this guy whose handle is Girth Brooks. I love that handle, man.
Great.
Yeah, I like it as much as who was the guy? Who's the DJ? Last week?
Oh,
Slim McGraw.
Slim McGraw. That's
Shout
another
out
great
DJ
one.
Slim McGraw.
Yeah. Girth Brooks told me about a dude named Tim Flock. Probably everyone's favorite driver. Now he's one of my favorite drivers. He had the only co-pilot in NASCAR history. Do you know Tim Flock's story?
No.
You know
Never
Tim
heard
Flock's
that.
story?
I was watching
You saw
a
this?
YouTube video and they explained this.
Okay,
I was
good.
fascinated
He was
to hear.
the only one with a co-pilot, co-driver in NASCAR history. It was a rhesus monkey named Jocko Flacco that rode in the car with him during 8 races in the 1953 season. Yeah, I'm always amazed. And people are like, oh, I know Dick Trickle with the cigarette lighter. To know that there was a NASCAR driver who had a monkey riding shotgun with him blows my mind. In one race, so the cars there had some sort of string that you would be able to pull, and it would open a metal flap that exposed an opening in the car that you could actually look at your right tire to see how much wear was on it. That's crazy back then. So we're talking about 1953. So you open it up. So at some point, Flock with Jocko Flacco in, riding shotgun, opens it up and to look at the tire, and it kicks up a pebble. It hits fucking Jocko Flacco somewhere. I'd like to think between the eyes, and the monkey goes absolutely crazy. So it started to crawl on him. He lost his shit, and it caused Tim Flock to make an emergency pit stop so he can hand an out-of-control monkey to the pit crew in order for him to finish the race. And he finished 3rd. He would have won without that problem. And that was the last time that Jocko Flacco had run with Tim Flock, but for 8 races. And this happened almost exactly 70 years ago. To when we're recording this. It happened on May 30th, 1953. We're mid-May right now, so almost exactly 70 years ago, this monkey went batshit and had to be handed out. If that's not enough to make you like Tim Flock, Toni is coming in with us, right? We're all about empowering women here on this podcast. You know that. We're the #1 podcast amongst Hasidic Jews. I mean, that's just a fact.
Confirmed.
And then we love, confirmed. And we love to empower women. Tim Flock's sister was Ethel Mobley, her married name, which used to be Flock. In 1949, she was the second woman to drive into NASCAR history. Tim Flock's sister, breaking barriers. Sarah Christian was the first. And then one more thing. At the end of the 1952 NASCAR season, Flock had 106 more points than Herb Thomas, earning Flock his first NASCAR Grand National Championship title despite flipping in the final race at West Palm Beach. And Flock later joked, and it's a famous quote from him, "I was the only driver in history to win a championship upside down." So take a look at Tim Flock when you got a sec. He's an absolute historic stud. All right, so with that, we have a young lady. We're about to go 3 wide with Toni Breidinger. All right, so like I said, Toni, it's 23-year-old. She's making her first NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series debut, driving the #1 Victoria's Secret's Toyota Tundra for Tricon Garage at the Heart of America 200 at Kansas Speedway this week. 134 laps, 201 miles. This isn't her first time behind the wheel. Don't say that. She's got 9 top 10 finishes in ARCA, and she's also featured in the Victoria's Secret's 2022 Fall Collection campaign, which I don't think anyone else can say. I don't think there's anybody else who's riding this week on any of the NASCAR tours who could say that. We were close one day, but it wound up,
we didn't make the cut. No, Toni's the first for a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Lebanese and German descent, makes her the first Arab-American woman to compete in the series. So this is kind of a groundbreaking type thing. Toni, I'm going to hit you with a huge question out front. We know that men are inherently stupid. Is NASCAR where you, like, almost the physicality doesn't mean as much, and where it is the only true even playing field for men and women in professional sports?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that in NASCAR, men and women have the same like advantages. Like, I don't feel like I ever have a disadvantage for, like, you know, how I am physically. So yeah, I feel like it's like, it might be the only sport where I really feel like we can compete on like a level, equal playing field. I can't really speak for other sports necessarily, but I mean, for racing, I feel just as confident behind the wheel.
Is that something that you want to do? Now, we see a lot of leagues like the NBA split off, and they have the WNBA that's, you know, specifically for female athletes. Do you think there is a spot for an all-female driving series in the NASCAR sport? Is that something you would want, or do you want to participate with everyone?
You know, I would say, you know, I've been participating with everyone ever since I was a kid in go-kart, so I don't see a reason to change it now. That's what I've been used to, and that's what I've been doing growing up. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy with, you know, kind of how the sport is at. I think that's kind of like the cool aspect is that, you know, once you're behind the wheel, you're a driver, just like everyone else.
Absolutely.
What's the expectations coming into this weekend? Looking at the Barstool Sportsbook, you're a deep underdog in it, which I think you would expect to be. So what's the expectation from you? What's the expectation from Victoria's Secrets on Victoria's Secret? I don't think there's 2 secrets. There was only one.
Tell me all the secrets.
Yeah, exactly. What's the expectations this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of have like goals for myself and not really like an expectation result wise. I mean, I think, you know, I have goals to have like a good pit stop and like really great restarts and just to be like overall competitive. And I think, you know, however, all those variables add up at the end of the day, that is what it is. But no, I definitely want to be competitive and have a good showing, but I also know this is going to be a huge learning curve. So I think I just really need to focus on adapting and just getting as comfortable in the truck as possible.
And Large mentioned you did some modeling for Victoria's Secret in 2022. Back then when you did that, did you ever have this thought in your mind that they could potentially one day be a sponsor on your truck? Was this some sort of long con?
I mean, it's definitely something that I've dreamed of for as long as I can remember. Growing up, I really wanted to be a race car driver. And then I also had this other part of me that really wanted to go into modeling, especially with Victoria's Secret. So I remember always just journaling about it. And this is really like my ultimate biggest dream come true. I'm like not even like pretending, like I used to write about this when I was little. So it's pretty crazy that it actually worked out. It's really surreal for
Well,
me.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Do you look, maybe, why don't we turn NASCAR on its head? Why don't we turn all of sports on its head? NASCAR is not as bad as it used to be, but it still objectifies women to a certain degree. Whenever you see the Monster Girls, who like kind of line up outside of Riley Herbst's car and whatnot. I think you see the Celsius girls too. This is just a recommendation. You don't have to say yes right away, but say yes somewhere down the line. Victoria's Secret has a men's line. Not a lot of people know about it, but my wife puts me in it quite a bit. Spider and I will come down to Kansas this week. We will dress up in the raciest shit we can find, and we will pose next to your car and take pictures with you. Turn the tables on NASCAR and start to objectify the fellas. What do you say?
Go for it. Let's do it. I'd love to
Fuck
see
yeah.
it.
Yeah. All right, good.
So obviously you've been racing for a while. Like watching the sport growing up, was it NASCAR Cup Series or what was the kind of racing that you idolized, and what drivers within it that did you idolize, and what drivers inspired you?
Yeah, so I would say when I first started racing in go-karts, I wanted to race in every form of motorsports possible, which is kind of unrealistic, but I wanted to do drag racing, Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, everything that had four wheels, I wanted to do it. And then as I got older, I kind of started thinking like, okay, like what path do I actually want to go down? And then when I was, I think about like 15 years old, I was racing a midget at Madera Speedway, and I saw my first late model race, and I've never seen like any type of stock car race before. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. I want to go do NASCAR. So kind of like around then is when I started kind of trying to see like how I can make it through the NASCAR ladder system.
Favorite driver growing up?
I would say Jimmy Johnson was my favorite.
Okay.
It's a good one to have. You're pulling double duty this weekend too, right? You're riding in the
Yes,
first
I
two.
am.
So talk about that. Not a lot of people are doing. I think people take it for granted. I know Kyle Busch is also doing at least double duty. I know he's Truck Series and Cup Series. He's the overwhelming favorite. I mean, he's minus money in that thing. Talk about doing double duty on a weekend. How tough of a lift is that for you?
Yeah, I would say I've never done it before, but I think it's going to be pretty difficult. Last year at Kansas, I think that was like the most physically demanding race that I did, just because it felt so hot in the car. So I just made an investment in a cool shirt. So
Nice.
hopefully that helps me this time. But yeah, I'm trying to do everything possible to kind of like prepare, and I do think it's going to be pretty physically taxing. So yeah.
Some of the other female drivers we've spoken to have mentioned that the other drivers that they compete against have slid in their DMs. Some of the guys they
that's right.
race against.
Haley has said that to us in particular when we did that on the stage that time.
That's right.
Shocked people. Yeah.
So I want to ask the same question to you, Tony. Have there been any drivers that have slid into your DMs? You don't have to say names.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, feel free.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's just maybe because like we're in like, the circle, so we're easily accessible to people. But yeah, people kind of just like to definitely slide in the DMs. You definitely kind of have to stand your ground, put them in their place. Yeah.
For the record, you reached out to us. I did not slide into this young lady's DMs, just for people to know, because I can sometimes be kind of creepy. Tell us about the track. Can you tell us, we're going to preview Kansas right after we get off with you, but can you give us an idea from a racer's perspective about Kansas Speedway?
Yeah, so Kansas is an intermediate track. It's 1.5 miles. It doesn't have a lot of banking to it, but it's still pretty fast. I mean, you're pretty close to wide open for the most part. I know like as the race progresses, you're going to kind of move around a lot. So I think you really have to be willing to kind of like adapt with the track. So
Last thing I got for you, you mentioned it was a dream to not only model for Victoria's Secret, but maybe potentially have them one day on your car. You achieved that dream. So now let's be I don't know what the word is. Philosophical. What's the next prediction? What's the next dream? Is it winning a cup race? What's next for Toni?
Not philosophical, then I apologize. I thought we were going to go into her psyche a little bit more. Go ahead.
I would say, I have so many goals for myself. But like in like the present day, like my most present goal, I would say, to get like a top 3 finish at Kansas, maybe win in the ARCA series. And then I feel like, the truck races right after that, I think that'll kind of give me that little boost of confidence going to the truck race. And we'll kind of see what happens there. But yeah.
All right, so it's the Heart of America 200 at Kansas. It's going to be Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, so it's at night, and you can get it on FS1. This is Toni Breidinger. Toni, thank you so much for spending some time with us. That's an open invite if you need us to do some underwear modeling,
we're available.
And that's it. Best of luck this weekend.
Good luck, Toni.
Perfect.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Toni. Wish her best of luck. Just looking at the Barstool Sportsbook, very long odds on her. So, I'm going to throw a couple of bucks on her just because she's so goddamn likable.
Toni's definitely worth a look.
Yeah. That's a bonk, right? Is that a bonk? Yeah.
Well, come on. That's a bonk, reverse bonk.
Yeah. We're rolling into Kansas. This Kansas preview is brought to you by NASCAR. We're racing at an intermediate track for the second week in a row. The Advent Health 400 from Kansas Speedway is at 3 p.m. Eastern time, May 7th. You can catch it on FS1. That's this Sunday. Bubba won there in September. Kurt Busch, defending champ of the spring race, meaning Kyle Busch, meaning Tyler Reddick will be in the car that won this race a year ago. right?
Yep.
267 laps on a 1.5 mile asphalt oval. And by the way, it's looking like rain. Yikes. That sucks. Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano are all tied for most wins at the track among active drivers. So Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, and Joey Logano. Two of those that we said have been having problems either on or off the track. Each have 3 wins apiece. That's just something to keep in mind. And again, you can watch the Advent Health 400 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday on FS1. From that, we go into Picking the Tires, brought to you by Barstool Sportsbook, which has the best odds for, and we're first to market on a lot of them for NASCAR. It's where we do all our betting. Who wants to go first?
Should I start with what our records
Oh,
are?
Jesus. Yeah, you might as well, right?
Yeah, which I've been teasing this. I haven't told anybody what the records are.
Okay.
And these are records for what we've officially put on our cards.
Right.
So
this is a small percentage of what we put on, like the wood that we lay on these races.
yeah, I mean it depends.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I not to brag, I had like a live bet win. I can't remember who it was. Or Logano plus 900.
Yeah, I had a
bet
live
Zane Smith one weekend.
I had a
plus
live bet
700.
win too, and at the Barstool Sportsbook
But
in
we're-
Phoenix.
But we're just
Right.
ignoring those. We're doing.
Oh, we're
only-
just ignoring the ones I
We're
hit.
Well, I would.
and we'll pay
Well,
attention
no,
to
he's
the ones
lost
you
him
got.
on that.
Got it.
We're ignoring the losers, too.
I'd be doing great.
Got it. All right, let's hear them.
But so large is up 10.2 units. I'm up 3.8 units.
Here we go.
Spider's down 18.5 units.
We'll be back up.
Spider takes far too many plays some weeks that
It's you know what it was.
I'm the best bettor in this room?
It's the super
So
speedway
glad we
tracks
did
that
this.
fucked me.
you take. I think at Talladega you took an amount of picks that you could have had the race winner and still lost money.
Right. You couldn't
That's
conceivably.
fake news.
Yeah.
I will not let the media drive false narratives. We'll be back up. I gave you Kyle Busch outright, and I plan on giving you several more outright winners. Listen, Martin Truex, the winner this week, didn't win in fucking 54 weeks.
I had him.
Fuck you. Let me rant for a minute.
Go.
We'll be back on top.
Let 'em
Keep
cook.
the faith. Keep the faith. We will be back.
Should we start with your picks?
We'll start with my pick, and you know what? I'll boil it down. I'm gonna try to give you one. Now I got to think.
By the
of
way,
which one.
I have to make a thing. We had seen Bubba win in the fall race at Kansas. The spring race, I had said that Kurt Busch had won. Then I changed it to Kyle for some reason, just because for some reason I think Kurt was put out to pasture a long time ago. Kurt Busch is the winner.
Yeah, he won.
That's why Tyler Reddick is in the car. I corrected it when I shouldn't have. Kurt Busch is the defending champ of this spring race at Kansas. I'm still the best gambler in the room. Go ahead.
That Kurt Busch race-winning car is one of the sickest ever. The Jordan scheme on there.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give you one then, since we got the narcs out here keeping tabs on us.
It's just your record.
The lib media with the fake news. I'm going Christopher Bell plus 850. That's all I got. I think he's due. That's my logic.
You have one on the card?
One on the card. We're gonna keep it short and sweet. That's all I gotta say.
Care to put something on Chevy?
Listen. Stop.
You gotta sprinkle it.
I will not be peer pressured. I'm sticking with Christopher Bell. I think he can get it done. He's got a great car, and I think he's one of the best drivers on his team. Martin Truex and Denny Hamlin looked good this past weekend, but guess what? They've kind of struggled previous to this point this year. So Christopher Bell's been the one consistent guy at Joe Gibbs. Toyota's been good here. I think he looks good, and he's the one singular guy I'm riding with.
I thought you were going to head you with a Chevy bet. How about an odd number winner?
Stop.
No, okay. So
Say
you're
your
Chris
picks.
Bell.
Stop
You're
trying to
Chris
sell
Bell.
me shit.
I apologize. Pay attention to mine, maybe. Do you want to go next, Quicks?
Yeah, Cam. So I love Kyle Larson this week. So in his past 4 races, he's finished P1, P2, P19, and P8.
That's been the story.
The
He's
P19 race, he led 132 laps. So every race he's dominated. He's plus 550. I love it. I think it's gonna be tough for him not to be in that, like, in the top 3 towards the end of the race. I think he can win it. I'm taking Harvick and Logano both top 10. They're both pretty much even money. Harvick's been great on this track all throughout his career. I kind of wanted to bet him to win it, but he just hasn't had a winning car this year. He's had a good car. And I think Logano had such a bad week last week that he's going to want to come out and be up there and fix stuff this week. And then my final pick is Brad K. Brad K has had 3 top 5s in his last 6. I'm taking him outright and top 5. Outright's plus 3,000, top 5's plus 400.
He won there twice, in 11 and in 19.
Yeah. But top 5 plus 400 I think is great. Great value.
I'm taking Reddick. I'm taking Reddick to win. It was plus 900 at one point. Now it's down to plus 700. I'm going to take him in that car that I said before, Kurt's car. And I like him on this track. I told you guys that Truex snapped a 54-race winless streak on Monday. Blaney's working on a winless streak of his own, right? But at Kansas, he's got 3 top 5s and 7 top 10s and 16 starts. That's impressive. I was going to grab Blaney to win, but I'm not good at that. So I'm going to do a top 3 Blaney. It still pays plus 445. So I got a top 3 for Blaney. And then I think that Chastain, if no one's going to run him off the fucking road, he's either going to continue to perform very well or grab a win. Again, I can't pick winners, so I'm going to do Chastain as a top 3 because that's plus 400 also. So Reddick, I'm getting plus 700. Top 3 Blaney, plus 445. Top 3 Chastain, plus 400. And I think the bookies are making another mistake. And they have, in the truck race on Saturday, they have Kyle Busch minus money. And no one's paying attention to Zane Smith. And Zane Smith tends to take that shit personally. We've spoke to Zane Smith a couple of times, one of our favorite guys. Spider was like, oh, I forgot his name for a fucking second, right? But the guy's an absolute goddamn stud. You know it. I know it. So I'm taking Zane Smith. I think I'm getting like plus 700 on that. I didn't click on it when I saw it. So go Zane Smith.
You did sell me on another pick. You reminded me of
I have one too.
Of the truck series.
Yes.
And I think we might be on the same thing, Quigs. I have a bailout Hail Mary that's going to get me up several units.
That's that.
And that's taking our queen, Toni Breidinger, plus 1,500. Wait, I'm sorry. Plus 150,000
right.
to win the fucking truck race.
Yeah.
I think she can get it done. Channel your inner Ross Chastain, whatever it takes, Tony. Let's get it done.
I wish we can get a head-to-head on Haley and Tony on that one.
That would be fun.
Right? You get a plow. I'd plow. I'd plow either of them, to be honest with you.
I'll read my other pick to get us off that. I have like a hypothetical pick. If it gets rained out on Sunday and moves to Monday, I'm going to take Truex to win.
Oh, for the Monday.
So I'm not going to take him if it's a Sunday race. If it's Monday, I'm taking Truex.
I kind of want to ride that.
Monday Martin.
You can't keep away.
That's the thing about me. Regardless of how many units I go down this season, I'm going to be back every week. The great thing about NASCAR, there's nothing like picking an outright winner. So.
I'd love you to ride it with me. Monday, we're both in the office. We're on the same guy.
If it's a Monday race, you know what? Pencil me in right now moving forward for any Monday races. Add Martin Truex to my card.
Yep.
Okay, done. So that's it for Rubbin is Racing. Again, Picking the Tires brought to you at Barstool Sportsbook. Go there, sign up, and throw in some bets. I'll see you guys next week.
Peace.